Hi, everybody. So here we are, Sunday, February 1st. I think that 2026. And I think it's important to note for those that recognize um, that today is Imbolc, which is the halfway point between winter solstice and spring equinox. It is a day where certain cultures and traditions celebrate and acknowledge the further moving into the light. It's considered a point in the darkness, which for me personally is interesting because I'm about to start a study that I'm offering for around Mary Magdalene's teachings. And I took the key seven that are most recognized by people and broke them into just a gathering once a month, even though I'm doing like stuff that people can use, the people that have joined up can use on their own. This is a free gathering, a free group offering and study with a private community portal. So for anybody that's interested in that, know that you are welcome to still join. Tomorrow night is going to be our first meeting. All of that was to say that the first teaching or the first veil, um, as I understand them and interpret them, is what is often traditionally referred to as darkness. I'm calling it the veil of disconnection. Um, but so it's interesting that that is going to come on the heels of Imbolc, which is like I said, the recognition of this space, kind of paying homage and getting us to shift our focus on the light rather than the darkness, and the increasing of light rather than darkness, that which is coming, which is new, rather than being focused on chaos, is the word that I actually just heard. So it's interesting because as I was talking about that, and none of this is new because Spirit has been talking about it and having me share about it in all different forms and ways for months now, right? Is it they're reminding me again of this real chaotic feeling that is happening in our world. Some of you might say, particularly here in the United States, though I'm sure that there are plenty of people and there's plenty of going ons around the world that feel like chaos right now. And they're saying that in tandem with the holiday Imbolc and that celebration, that ritual, they're once again just calling in and asking us to remember that that chaos can feel like darkness. And yet, in all of that is really an opportunity for there to also be light, right? I don't know who, maybe it was Martin Luther King. Somebody has a quote about basically that the darkness needs to be present in order to be able to see the light. They're talking about the idea that there is always power in, they're saying creative power, in understanding that where our energy is focused is where the energy goes. is where the energy is able to culminate and create more visibility of its effect. More change, they're saying. So that when our focus is on the things that are dark, the things that are chaos, the things that are unchanging, that's a good one for me to remember. Uh, they kind of like just tapped me and was like, "Yeah, that part's for you." That it puts more momentum between, not between. It puts more momentum behind giving more experiences that perpetuate those things, right? Again, there's a cliche saying, quote, whatever, around. And part of this is real neuroscience. It's that wherever our focus is, wherever our thinking of perception is, that is what we then visibly see, visibly hear, experience, because that's what we're intending to hear and see. So they're saying what feels like darkness, what feels like this potential time of a gap, this time of nothingness, of feeling like nothing new is happening, nothing new is manifesting or coming about or coming into our experience. They're saying put positive expectation into that gap. They're saying it's like when you watch and you're getting ready for the movie to start and there's that moment where the screen is black from the like production house, whatever their opening is, to the actual opening of the movie, right? Like there's, it might only be for a split second, but it's enough that you can acknowledge that there's this moment of black screen. And the interesting thing was, is as I was saying this out loud, they were saying to me that the reality of the situation is that when we experience that black screen and we think in a movie that it only lasts for a split second, that is really in continuum of our lives and of all timelines. What we perceive as months or maybe 18 months or a year or whatever of black screen, which feels like forever, it's really only a split second in the timeline of our lives, of the timeline of humanity, society. And so we need to also remember that it is such a flash, even if it feels like it's an extended period of time for us. Going back to the thought they were having before that, it was, they're saying, but can you hold that black screen? Can you hold that gap, that space in time with a period of positive expectation, of saying, "Oh, I can't wait to see what comes next. I can't wait for this new movie to start." Right? Again, they're saying to me, you know, we have trailers of movies. I don't know why they're using movie analogies, and um I am not a big movie person and I rarely watch movies, so it's even more interesting that this is how they're breaking it down to me. But They're saying, like before you go to the movies to watch the movie, and part of why you're able to hold this moment of positive expectation of what's about to come, of what you're about to start witnessing and viewing and enjoying, is because we have trailers. And you've seen the trailers on social media or in a commercial or somebody told you about it or whatever. And so you already have this idea. They're saying nobody goes to the movies completely blind. Like you've read something, you've heard something. You don't just show up not having heard or nothing and just being like, that's the one, right? There was some nugget, something that you were given, like I said, either somebody told you or you read something or you saw something that piqued your interest, that said, oh, that sounds like something that I would enjoy to go watch, or that would be enjoyable for me to sit through and watch. And that's what makes you go. And then that's what makes you sit in the darkness in that moment of expectation before it actually starts, with positive expectation, thinking, oh, this is going to be great. They say this is what happens to us in our lives all the time. We're just not viewing it that way. You may not recognize that you have been given a trailer, or that you have read something or seen something or somebody has said something that tips you to what is about to come, about the goodness and enjoyment that is about to be coming. But it doesn't mean that you weren't given it. They're saying, sometimes that's for it's you're looking to people like myself who are able to give, I don't want to say predictive because I hate that word. um I hate the idea that I'm predicting the future. That's definitely not what I'm doing. I just got chills when I said that, which for me, when I channel something and I always get chills, um, it's like a validation around something being a deep truth or something that's really important for somebody to hear. But there are people like myself who are able to share unseen, unheard, unknown insights, information, direction. And there are plenty of people who have that ability. And also, there are plenty of people um, who are looking for it. And so you have that experience of being able to look around you. They're saying, though, it could be a conversation with somebody, it could be a reoccurring theme in your exposure or experience. And they're really clear about this, because they keep saying it over and over. It's about giving you insight, guidance, trying to let you know positive things that are coming. But see, we get so caught up in the fear of things. We get so caught up in what people are talking about and writing and what you're reading and what their people are sharing or you're absorbing that's negative, that we overlook what's coming, that is positive, that is the light that is really actually there in this perceived darkness or in this perceived time of chaos and gap. And so they're saying it's about understanding that there's an intentional shift we can make that says, what is sort of the predictive thing that I have more recently been witnessing, that I have been more recently exposed to, that is coming, that is showing up for me, which is positive, which is giving me a positive insight to be able to hold on to this little nugget, right? Again, going back to the idea around today being Imbolc, which is saying there's this now slice of light that is showing up in the darkness, that the darkness is shrinking. They're largely explaining this, and they're largely showing this as an example and as a way to, or they're referring to it largely into the world, into what's happening in the world on the exterior in a larger scale. And also they're saying to me at the same time right now, but please remember also that this is relevant for you to your internal world, that internally many of us are so focused and fixated on this idea of fixing something in us, in creating, self-criticism, problems to fix, ways to improve, that we have forgotten the ways to be able to look at and view ourselves and the things that are light in us, the things that are good in us. They're reminding me, they were giving me like a series of exercises for a few weeks, for those that were, a lot of people do this. It's a calendar new year, and so we want to create this time of focus of what are we going to be creating? Where's the energy we want to be going towards for this coming year? I always choose new, words, sometimes one word, sometimes three words, but it's kind of like that set point for myself. It's interesting. They just send me, it's the black point of the picture of the movie that you're about to create for yourself for the next year. And so they were giving me these exercises and I was sharing them with everyone, and there was a really distinct theme and a really distinct shift from, instead of saying this is what I don't like about myself, this is what I don't like about my life, and then how do I fix that or shift that or create it or do differently, whatever. There was a distinction around focusing on that which is good, that which we love in ourselves, that which we can see as a blessed thing, talent, skill, gift, experience, ability, characteristic that we have in ourselves. And how do we focus on that and expand it as what we're trying to create for ourselves in this year instead? Can you can you feel the difference there? Can you see the difference? I hope I'm communicating it well. Um, some of you may recognize and know that sometimes it's hard to channel, to share exactly the way things are coming through, because I feel it in such a it's not it's not telepathic. It's like in my whole body. It's such a full, like I said, mind, body, spirit, kind of everything's firing. Um, and so it's hard to sometimes translate it into words. This feels like one of those days where I'm having trouble like translating it to be what they want it to be. At the end of the day, in short, is what they're saying. The whole point of this message today is simply to remind you, and this is not new, but there's plenty of us that need to hear it, to know that that gap, this moment in time which feels maybe mostly dark, whether that's internal or external or whatever that looks like for you, is but a moment. And the way that we leverage the power of it for ourselves, for the collective, is to be mindful about, am I sitting in positive expectation in this moment, or am I looking at the negative things, looking at what needs to be changed, what needs to be shifted? Can I just be searching in a it's interesting because I said, is searching really the right word there? Because again, maybe there's a certain connotation in the way that we often use that word searching. And they're like, that's probably the closest thing we have in our language to what they're making me feel. But it's like, can you be on the lookout for the positive thing that is coming in rather than, as I said, the things that need to be fixed, the things that need to be changed. And so know that they are acknowledging this might feel like this time of black screen. This might feel like this time of gap, of nothingness, where like nothing's improving. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that think things are getting worse. I assure you, from as spirit has shown me and given me energetically, it is not what it might be more visible to us, but things are not actually getting worse. We're just seeing more. Um, that's an entirely different conversation. But moving into this time and space right now, just be reminded that if you can, even for brief moments, I know it's hard to stay in that. And for some, that would be like a spiritual bypassing, staying in the energy of looking and for expectations, shreds of signs of the positive, of the light that are there, feels really disingenuous, and it might be really contrived, and that's certainly not the energy or the action or the thing that I'm trying to promote or that they're promoting in any way, shape, or form. But what they're saying is that that positive is there. Those shreds of light, the shreds of love are there. And so can you they're saying, with an expectant eye, with the eye of a child, can you be in wonder and looking for it to find it? So that's the message for the week. That is the guidance for the week. And as always, I would love to hear what your thoughts are, how this hits you, what part of it hits you. Um, Don't forget to subscribe, share with anybody that you think might need to hear this or has a nugget of it that might feel good to you. And as always, thanks, and I will talk to you soon.